Today's video is going to be difficult because it took me more than a week to collect the information and make this video, and I don't even know what to name this video. Maybe something like American politics and the world moving forward, maybe something like that. I know most people today are still browsing around on YouTube trying to dig out all the minor details related to the Trump Pennsylvania incident. To me, well, not just to me, but to Chinese media, to call it an assassination or assassination attempt is an insult to the word assassination. There's comment floating around in Chinese community saying that it is not even assassination, it's more like a two-way execution. There's another theory to it, of course, which I don't see it on Western media or mainstream media that much, that the 20-year-old kid, Crooks, is not even the shooter. He might just be a smokescreen, all right? The true shooter is elsewhere. He's just an scapegoat. And that the real shooter either missed the kill or he missed intentionally to discourage Trump from running, because straight off killing might cause too much chaos among Trump supporter and United States in general. And that kind of makes sense to me in my way. But what I'm going to do today is not to talk about that, but to leap forward into a more philosophical topic. We're going to talk about politics in the United States at its root, okay? Because I'm going to use this as like a opening episode to a grander topic regarding China and US relationship moving forward. And to really understand that, my audience really have to understand what United States is and what China is and how the two countries interact with each other and come to a general bigger understanding about the world. When we explore the internet, YouTube, and you listen to all these geopolitical commentators, and they come up with all kinds of different predictions, right? And analyst speculations. And I believe many of you guys are confused, right? Sometimes, a couple years ago when I watched these things, I feel confused as well. Who to believe? Who not to believe? Who is more accurate and who's not? And who might just be some kind of propaganda agents who try to deceive you, right? And from my point of view, most of the time, prediction and conclusion a person gives is not as interesting and as educational and as rewarding compared to understand that person's chain of thoughts, that person's logic, his philosophical anchor points, okay? And I have this feeling that most people do not have that kind of skill or time or resources, and I have come to accept that the kind of skill, talent cannot be taught also. Whether you believe in biological evolution or God creation theory, the simple truth is that majority of us human beings were not provided with the critical thinking skill. Things do improve as you age. I guess that explains why the majority of my audience, even today, according to YouTube statistics, is above 65 years old. And my audience must understand that this is probably the first time I'm going to say this. And I talked to my father yesterday again. He doesn't speak or understand English at all. And he's a bit concerned right now regarding what I present in this channel, that I need to be more cautious. And he has no way to judge or verify whether I'm being cautious or not, because he doesn't have VPN, and even he used VPN and get on YouTube and watch my video, he can't understand because he doesn't understand English at all. So when my audience use the comment section to talk to me constantly, no matter how careful you are slowly revealing yourself to me. Even if you do not intentionally reveal your identity or background, you still leak out information and knowledge about yourself through your questions and statements. And that goes both ways. I might say some jokes about certain topics, but if you are a professional, after watching enough of my videos, you can probably describe my background with certain good accuracy, which is also a reason that I refuse to provide too much of my personal information or background here on social media. It's for my safety and peace of mind. Well, for my safety and both for my family. And in today's world with information flying everywhere, it's good to be careful because the less I reveal, also that the more I can speak openly without having to hold back and to avoid backlash, for example. I think my background and my experience is not only unique for my age. It is also vital for this era we're going through because first, my background is through China and United States, which to understand the fundamental struggle we're going through today in the world, not just in US or in China, you have to have a deep knowledge and experience in both countries. So if one of the country fundamentally change its direction, trajectory, the world will return to a more balanced form. But of course, nothing's permanent, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So we're really in for a big storm, I would say. I've run into so many people in real life and in my comment section also after I started this YouTube channel that their mindset is so far off from reality. I would say talking to them, it's like explaining color to a creature without eyes. I mean, how do you do that? It's difficult. To give you an example of myself, actually, I would just skip this part. This is a bit too much. So, just to know, I've been through something. Okay, but at a young age, okay, are more vulnerable, more easy to influence by ideology, and sometimes can serve an anchor point to our individual personality, our chain of thoughts, and how we see the world. Okay, and for most people, once you are anchored to a certain something, whether it's a political philosophy or a religion, it's difficult to unanchor from it. All right, it will take a very dramatic event, usually painful event, to pull a person out and realign to something else. And this is especially true when many of these so-called philosophy or religion, this has this kind of exclusivity element to it. You can't believe in Jesus Christ and also, jump to believing in, Muslim Muhammad on another day. So to believe in everything means that you believe in nothing, right? So most people have to anchor their mind, their thoughts to one thing or the other. So if you are very talented, wise, experienced audience of mine, you want to dig into Richard, right? To see what my thoughts, my mind is anchored to. You have so many different political, economic commentators online who to believe. Why would you spend 20, 30, 40 minutes in my channel instead of other channel? And if you dig hard enough and long enough, I would say that you will find it the thing that I am anchored to is very raw and most biological, math and statistics, those kind of things. Let me give you guys an example. I know some of my audience also follow other channels, like there's this one by Brian Berlectic, the New Atlas. Follow and report on geopolitical impacts of US foreign policy on other countries. And if you follow other channels like the Duran, you also bump into him from time to time. You can go watch his analysis on Trump assassination, which is a pretty good one, I would say. But at the end, he says something that clearly, to me, shows that he has a huge, maybe a geopolitical blind spot. He doesn't understand why Trump got shot. And I can see the same problem with many other geopolitical commentators and audience in my comment section as well. They all face different kind of blind spot, including me. I have many blind spot as well. I'm through time and try to fill those blind spot. There's this explanation, right? We all point at the same direction certain times. The almost exactly what the deep state want him to do, or at least according to him, Trump is just another puppet candidate. Why bother doing this, right? Why intentionally try to take him out or fake do the theatrics, and what is the reason? So to me, I have said it again and again in my channel, and I will say it again. For me, for Trump to get to the election day, whether he win or not, even for him to get there without getting shot at, to me, it will be some kind of surprise. But again, I could be wrong. It could be some other reason. But for me, if this assassination attempt gets a real investigation, a real thorough investigation, to me, that's a surprise. Okay, it's like all my Europeans and Finnish friends who said that, oh, Sweden and Germany are going to invest the hell out of Nord Stream attack and find out the truth and who's behind it. I was laughing when they say that. And if that will get a real investigation, I will sooner believe the earth is flat or the sun comes out from the west or something like that. For Nord Stream, after several decades, there will be a document or evidence released describing the truth. And for this assassination, if Trump really became president, and if he insists on turning over every rock to get to the bottom, maybe he will find something. Very unlikely. Not likely that he will even try. Let's put it that way. So today I will try to approach politics from another angle. I know I have many patriotic Americans audience. It's okay. If you do not like what I said here today in this video, do this, okay? Hold on to whatever you believe. And when the future events play out, and it confuses you, confuse many of my real life friends right now around the world, from your set of knowledge, from your philosophy, if those things cannot be explained, then you can bring out this whatever richer theory or hypothesis you watched months or years ago and try to apply my chain of thoughts to the event and see if it fits and makes sense. That's all I ask, because we all have our knowledge blind spot, and it's good to, through this channel, try to educate each other to see if we can find something that we do not understand initially. Today, I'm going to bring you an unknown guest. There will be many unknown guests in the future because the things that I touch up on, when it becomes too sensitive, I will try to avoid the person who initially put out the video or article. And this particular person, he actually asked me to not release things or translate these things, or so if I do it, I kind of cannot use his name for his own safety. And for my safety, I remove a lot of the things that are way too sensitive. I will say that I actually made part of this video a month ago, 2 months ago, in one of my democracy videos, but I moved some of the material because back then I don't feel comfortable putting this out. I've seen another, I'll talk about this at the end, but it is sensitive. And let's see if this video can even survive on the internet. I can't tell you guys exactly who he is. I think I have a few of my audience who know who he is, because they wrote personal email to me also to warn me about translating and revealing things on my channel. But I told him that I would just scratch the surface, the skin, not going to touch the meat or anything. He's a Chinese, and he's also a US expert, a US citizen. Let's just leave it at that. And if you think I just fabricate this person out of thin air, sure, then you can consider whatever I said here in this video is not from him and just from me. That's okay. I'm totally fine, because I think the way I see United States politics is very similar to he sees it, but he's more he done a lot more research and is much more organized than I am. So yeah. So instead of telling you guys what the deep state establishment is, how about I try to tell you guys to become part of the deep state? Don't you think that will be also interesting to know? Okay. To begin this topic, okay, I want to explore the principle and fundamental characteristic of a capitalist country, all right? And maybe in another video, I want to talk about what sovereign capital is and the so-called liberal democracy election democracy system, what the real nature and outcome of a capitalist system that is, resting upon this democracy, what it looks like. I'll put it in another video more again. The principal logic is that capital is always not solo. Okay, if you are in a monarch system, we roughly most of the time know who your boss is, right? Who's your king. So if you look at the United States, there are many companies belonging to different industries, and these companies always form different unions, especially if they are in the same industry. They join forces. Some unions or investment equity groups, firms, have their portfolio, spamming through different industry as well. Over time, going through alliances and consolidations, the result is the formation of powerful entities in different sectors. The most powerful entity or union in the United States right now is the financial banking sector. They're the single most powerful force, followed by the MIC, a distant second, I would say. And then after that, there are energy sector unions and also pharmaceutical. So these are the big four, right? There are certain unique elements about these four sectors. They are industry by nature that is able to achieve both monopoly and maintain extremely high profit margin. This is something very important for my audience to understand, because only with monopoly and extreme profitability that the entity can afford to lobby or manipulate a government policy to its own interests and to maintain consistently a distorted public perception. Okay, the normal manufacturing sector, like my family is in, China, there's a lot of factory owners. My family, we also run factory. We earn a very thin margin. Okay, and there's a limited capability because the profit margin is too low. Or let's say right now in United States, many companies, manufacturing companies are, running at a loss and kind of is on life support. So it's unrealistic for them to wield too much political power because they are not able to influence. There's not enough capital, all right? When we look at some famous entrepreneurs, okay, in China, we have, for example, Jack Ma. A lot of people know him. And here in United States, you have Elon Musk. And their political power is, as of currently, weak, not very strong. Okay, the founder of Amazon, for example, Jeff Bezos, top 3 most wealthiest person on this planet according to the ranking. He's been rich for 30 years now, more or less, but he's also considered politically weak. That's why Jeff Bezos went and purchased Washington Post. Because having money is not enough. Wealth carry certain responsibility and risk. Okay, so in order to protect your wealth, to protect your achievement and position, you need to convert your wealth into political leverage and political power. And this is the same across human history. No matter the country, no matter the political system, no matter the era or culture, it's the same. It takes time, effort to position yourself, your family, your legacy in a way that can withstand the test of time. But there's definitely consequence. Depends on which country and which era you're referring to. Okay, so If you want to become part of the establishment in US, the deep state, you call it, there's two paths to go down to, okay? The first path, initial path, you have to be rich, okay? You have to accumulate wealth, and with that wealth, the easiest path is to purchase a media outlet, like what Jeff Bezos did with Washington Post, or what Elon Musk did with Twitter. That's the most direct path, because by controlling a media outlet, you have certain influence over the public opinion, the voters, right? And this is why historically, and especially in modern history, why controlling the narrative is so important in controlling power. Even in a country without so-called democracy and elections, it is vital for the ruling monarch or ruling family to have a certain control over what information its own people are receiving in order to maintain stronger hold onto the power, okay? Jeff Bezos doesn't run Washington Post by himself, but hire someone else from the establishment power to run Washington Post for him. It's a way to show, good gesture, and he's interesting to become part of the establishment and, part of the decision-making bodies, right? The second path is, so I would call, to become a mediator. Not everyone is good at accumulating wealth or hit some kind of high-tech jackpot. There's another way. It is to become a mediator, errand boy of the establishment power, like a lower level mafia, I can call it. You have to work your way up the chain of power, right? To build the human relationship network. And a good example of that is the Clinton family, or Obama or Biden. They're kind of belong to the same group. They're not born or became wealthy through doing business. They work for the capital. They allow the voice and desire and preference of powerful entities to voice through them. All right. So to become a strong financial player through this path, you need to build a strong network and trust with existing players. And if there are players that you cannot be friend with, you must have the technique and wisdom to push back against them if they're working against your interests, okay? If they try to, take advantage of you or your partners, then you need to, put them in their place. Now, the presenter today, the unknown guest, today consider Clinton to be the most successful person or family in this game. That's how Clinton was able to rise to power, to become the president of the United States, and after retirement, still held very strong leverage and influence over the United States political system. To understand how those two powers work with each other, you have to understand that the characteristic of capital itself is rather loose, all right? Not well organized, and often have this conflict in interest. For example, the energy sector, let's say ExxonMobil, have conflict in interest with the transportation airline companies such as American Airlines. So when energy price go up, it will hurt their profit, those airline business, right? You will reduce their profit margin. So what democratic government really mean at its root, at least when it comes to the United States? For foreign country, it's slightly a little bit different depending on which country you refer to. But for United States, it's a negotiation platform to decide how to share and balance wealth of the nation, or how to divide the plunder when US decided, to invade a country or regime change, or, do all kind of shady stuff outside of the United States. So, for example, the Ukraine project, I see definitely is very happy, right? Even those most patriotic Ukrainians and, the biggest Russian haters in Eastern Europe, they understand why MIC might want to support the continuation of the war for, the money. Energy sector is also happy because there are gas resources deposited in Ukraine, and a war will jack up the gas price. I don't think that needs explanation, just look at the Nord Stream. But the biggest beneficiary, as my longtime audience might know already, is the financial monetary sector. Okay, many Chinese experts today consider the Yugoslavia conflict, the bombing of Serbia, was also driven by the same motivation. The bombing of Belgrade happened at the same time Euro came out back in 1999. There were well-written papers on how it impacts on the price of Euro versus USD. Euro and USD have this competition relationship. Renminbi and USD, no. Is it today? I don't see it at the moment. Not yet, at least. Maybe something will change this year or next year, but not yet. And my audience have to use their brain right now. These three industry, okay, the energy, the MIC, the financial sector, they have a huge influence or dominating influence on the U.S. Foreign policy sector. Okay, pharmaceutical a little bit, only a little bit. So I believe some of my audience need to fundamentally modify their mindset, especially when Americans, since we are talking about U.S. politics here, you need to approach it from a different angle. You have to understand not just from a resident citizen point of view, what the United States is and why is it doing this and that, why is it going around, bombing other countries, why is it not spending the resources and time and energy to upgrade our infrastructure, why is it not making our healthcare system, our education more affordable, things like that. Can a person, my audience, actually link and explain all these things efficiently with a social political philosophy in their mindset right now? If not, what is missing? Okay, I believe that could be the most rewarding things for you by watching my channel or other channels in the media, independent media like mine, to look for and find out clues. Right, that's the most important thing. Just by pointing at corruption, the MIC, that's too shallow to me. And there's a lot of math and calculated decision behind the scene. Okay. So I will have to divide this topic into many separate videos. Now today, in this last part of this video, I want to give a quick rundown regarding how United States get to where we are today. I consider myself an American also. And this is more of an internal angle, not an international angle, okay? I would say even before the Ukraine war, I have a very good understanding of what United States is, and that is due to my personal experience, consultant experience. I've been running around the world all the time. And I come to understand what United States power was anchored up onto, the strength and the weaknesses. What are the things United States care and do not care about from the perspective of the establishment, of course, not from the perspective of regular people, the so-called deep state, that is. Those are the things I already know, and it goes very well with the narrative that the mainstream media put out. I understand why they're saying those kind of things and how it interact in foreign policy. So what US do matches very well with the definition of how I define United States and China and the world. Okay. And what I did not understand that well is how the United States got here. Because this is not the United States in the past, not the United States pre-World War II or even post-World War II. As people who dig a little into the US history looking for clues, we often have these indicators, right? These are the things, like, let me quickly run down these things. For example, the establishment of central bank back in 1913, people look at history and think that that's a major event. And then we have post-War II Bretton Woods system. And then during Vietnam War, we went off the gold standard thanks to Nixon. And after 20 years, Soviet Union collapsed, we entered this unipolar world. 3 decades of unipolar world we enjoyed. Well, we enjoyed, yeah, most of us enjoyed it, but some country did not. And after that, we're here. Voila. The problems the United States face today, there are not new problems. It has existed in the past. The problem is not severe in the past because the world was different. The United States was a much stronger power in relationship to the rest of the world compared to what is going on today. So according to today's unknown guest right here, he traced the beginning all the way back to Franklin D. Roosevelt. The New Deal, basically, after the Great Depression.